Hey everyone, I hope you all had a good weekend and a good Mother's Day if you celebrate that, and that everything is going well in your world. This is part 2 of Let's Make a Japanese Rice Bag. And one of my friends, Robin, hi Robin, asked me to explain what a Japanese rice bag was because she didn't know. She thought it was a bag that you put rice in and you heat it up in the microwave and you use it. It's not. A Japanese rice bag, as you saw in the previous video, the initial video for Come Make a Japanese Rice Bag with Me, is more about, it's a traditional bag that long ago the Japanese used to put rice in it and take it to the temple as an offering. So that's where that comes in. It's actually just a drawstring bag. And I guess I should put that in the title of the initial video, maybe, and see if that helps out some. Because, yeah, people might not know. And that's a very good point. So thank you, Robin, for pointing it out. Robin is also going to, noise and voices. Of course, I have the door open. Robin is also going to be making a bag. She's going to do hers by machine. And maybe Robin will share with us when she's done what it looks like. And let me share the photographs on it. She has my email and she can send me photographs anytime she wants of all the lovely things she makes. Robin is a very talented person and a good friend of mine. So I used this variegated. It is Wonderful size 8 pearl cotton EZM 1001. I used this as seed stitches. Oopsie, there it goes rolling across the floor. As seed stitches, and then I used DMC 552 to do the French knots in lavender. And I'm not going to do the stems because the stems sort of sit in the background. So I really like that effect. That white was way too much white for me, and I needed to do something in it, so hence the seed stitches. And you can see it's lighter over here, and there's some darker from the variegated. So you do get the effect of the variegated thread on there. I use a lot of variegated thread, and I'm realizing that it doesn't always show up well. Get stitching, Martha, for heaven's sakes. So let's see. I think my husband is out back, and the new neighbors next door snagged him, and they are literally standing just below our deck and making a lot of noise, so I apologize. But that's what that is. They weren't there when I opened the sliding door like 1 minute before I started recording, so yeah. But it's okay. It's all good, right? It's okay. Now, I think what I'm going to do, my plan at the moment, is to just simply stitch around the edges of this, and of all the pieces, the fabric pieces. Gosh, this pin. I'm going to do all around the edges of all the fabric pieces so they stay down. I may do, like, I think I'll do like Boro or Sashiko. I don't know. I have to remember. I have to look up the definitions and remember which is which. Anyway, I'm going to do lines, squares, shapes, circles maybe, all over it. So I have found in past projects that if I don't start in the middle, the fabric, if I start on the outsides, fabric tends to pucker in the middle, and I don't like that. So I started in the middle, and it was easy because I had this pre-printed thing on it to start with. So that was very helpful. Let's see. So I think I have an idea. I just got to figure out where to start it. So as I said, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a good weekend. Let's see, there was something else. I want to thank everybody for the wonderful, kind comments on my videos. I really appreciate it. I am thankful that you are here and joining me. And, oh, I know what the other thing was. I want to explain something. And Robin, I don't know if you caught this on the videos you watched. I'm sure you did, especially if you watched Stephen Hillard. I don't know that I'm pretty sure I did not explain this part in the first video for making a Japanese rice bag with me. So, the idea of making the quilt batting, for me, I make it a 1/2 inch smaller. It doesn't have to be a 1/2 inch smaller all the way around. So it's an inch smaller, really. But when I place it, now see, it's crooked here. So that's going to throw me off, but that's okay. I can work with it. This should be over here. I'll work with it. But, tack that down so it stays there. Okay. When you sew these pieces together, let me get another piece. Excuse my arm in front of the camera. I have all my stuff on the table next to me. You're going to, and this isn't centered very well either, so I will check all of these before I sew them, before I start sewing the front. But what you're going to do is you're going to put right sides together when you go to sew these, and right side up preferably. Don't ask me how I know to check my work because, yeah, I may, ooh, a lot of this is not pinned down. Oopsies. Let me remedy that first. I'm sorry. Let me fix the whole thing so I can explain it. But when you sew it together, oh boy, it's going to throw everything off. Okay, I'm just going to put these pins in here to hold this fabric down. Now I'm not pinning it to the quilt batting, but you'll see why in a second because I have to fix the quilt batting. Talk about disorganized, huh? Come on. Come off of there. All right. All right. Now, I want this centered on the back. And the reason you have to be careful with that and try and center it is because you need this edging around here. All right. So I'm going to that in there. My pins are not very sharp. Excuse me. I'm going to make a new pin cushion. And I'm going to stuff it with steel wool and see if that keeps my pins sharp. All right. So you're going to put right sides together like this. When you sew, when you're all done stitching the front, or if you're just doing a plain fabric one without any embellishment, hand stitching embellishment, excuse me, get the frog out of my throat. It's still not gone. You're going to sew from this corner, from corner to corner. You are not going to sew all the way across. And what happens is you're going to end up with Sorry. You're going to end up with this weird corner like that, where it's not sewn all the way across the edge. Same way when you come up this way. So this is going to be an open kind of piece of fabric. You're going to need that because when you piece the next piece on, it's going to, you're going to need that. In fact, what you do is you take the bottom and you actually sew the bottoms first. So this is a side. So say you're going to sew, this is the bottom. and this is where I messed up. I sewed it twice the wrong way. The first piece I sewed it twice the wrong way. So you want your side, say this is this side, right? It's going to stand up like, let me move the camera up. And we're not doing this step yet, but when you get to it, you're going to be sewing this. So this is the side standing up like this. This is the bottom. So what I did was I did that because mentally that's what I had to do, and put this together. And of course this will be clipped off. And you're only going to sew from this corner to that corner. And then you're going to put the next side on. Right? So this is going to stand up like this. This one I want to stand up like this. So it's going to go like this. So what's going to happen is you're going to sew from this corner to that corner. And when you do that, you're going to have this wonky corner that sticks out like this, like that. And you need to have those in there. You do have to stitch to the very edge. And I had to go back and make sure that there were no holes, because I had holes, no little spaces in there. And you're going to do the same thing with the lining. And that's where that all comes in. So that's why it's either I found it easier to have my batting be my guideline than it was for me to go through, because the lining I went through and marked. You have to go through and mark with a ruler a 1/2 inch, in my case, because I'm leaving a 1/2 inch. If you're doing a 1/4 inch, you do a 1/4 inch. But I'm doing a 1/2 inch. This is still not straight. I'll go through and fix all of these. But anyway, whatever spacing you're leaving on your edges, on the lining, it's going to be plain fabric. You're not going to have the quilt batting unless you want to add 2 layers of quilt batting. But you take a ruler and measure in 1/2 inch, draw a line, take a ruler, measure 1/2 inch, and where these 2 lines intersect on the corner here, that's what the point that you're going to sew up to. Clear as mud, I'm sure. When it comes time to sew them, I will explain further. So hopefully it won't be as muddy then as it seems to be now. And I apologize for being kind of all over the place. It's just a fact of my life. That's kind of how I am. In case you haven't been around for long, I can be a little wackadoodle. So I do want to try and pull this over, even though I've already stitched this and it's all kind of a little wonky. So there we go. Okay. All right, back to stitching. Stitching. It's kind of day I'm having. Can't even speak correctly. So I kind of want to do a square up here. And I apologize for the frog in my throat. It's just one of those days. We get these weird days in Virginia. I don't know if it's like this anywhere else. We have a lot of days where And it's not like this every year, but this year is one of those years. I don't know if it's because it's an El Nino year or what, but anyway, where the sky is not blue. The sun is out. At the moment, it wasn't out this morning, but the sky is not blue. It's white. But there are shadows on the ground from the sun. And it makes me a little crazy. Like, it's not real bright, direct sunlight. And I don't know if you can notice, but I have long sleeves on. It was cold. It was like 60 when we were out shopping this morning at, 10 o'clock. 10 p.m., 10:30, 10 p.m., a.m., 10 a.m. or 10:30 this morning. It was chilly. I mean, I wore long sleeves and a jacket. The jacket came off as soon as we got a half hour up the road to the grocery store, because I know when I go inside a grocery store and walk around, I work up a sweat. But that's because my metabolism's messed up. And so, but I needed the long sleeves. It was chilly. And it's still kind of chilly. So, yeah. And of course, now mowing has started. The husband came in, but the mowing has started. Not him. Somebody else. Oh. Now this thread is not showing up very well on this fabric, so is it a waste to use it? Maybe. I just love the 8 weight, and sometimes I love the 12 weight. The 5 weight I'm not so fond of. The kind of thread that comes on spools, either DMC. Now, I know I've watched Susie Q Makes, and she finds the anchor thread. But I don't know if she finds this kind where it's like these twisted strands that go together and you don't separate them. But I've also seen her find the anchor threads on the spool like that. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. That you can separate the 6-strand threads. Oy, oy, oy. So I find that interesting. I seem to love the balls of thread. I don't know why. It's, I like sewing with it, or stitching with it, I should say. That wasn't a very straight stitch. But there we are. So, let's see. What do I have to talk about? We went and saw our horse yesterday for Mother's Day. And it was lovely out. Absolutely gorgeous weather. It's the kind of day you want to bottle and use in the future. Save for the future. Or have every day. For sure. Low to mid 70s, and it got warmer in the latter part of the day, upper 70s. But the morning and early afternoon were really pretty. And we just let him, Tony brushes him, I cleaned his feet. Tony's Tony has a bad back, so bending over and lifting up the horse's feet is not a good thing for him. Not anymore. So I try and do it when I can. And sometimes my back fights back too. But anyway. So we we do that. Make sure we check over his body, make sure everything's okay. He has a little, I don't know if it's a growth or a reaction to a bug bite, but anyway. It hasn't gone down any. I hope it's not something else. It's not, it's just behind the skin. It's not attached to like his chest wall or anything. So at least there's that. Could just be a cyst. But if it doesn't go away in a month, we'll have it checked, I guess. And he's such a good boy. He's mischievous, but he's a good boy. The barn owner said that he and some other horses have been playing around in the fields, running all over the place and chasing each other and biting each other. And he's got to be careful, though, because he's blind in one eye and has some damage to the other eye. So, you know that saying, blind in one eye and can't see out of the other? That's our horse. But he's a good boy. See, now I'm getting to the edge of the, in fact, I'm a little over, so I'm just going to bring it in a little because that's the side that's crooked. This is driving me nuts to have. Go back because I skipped. Have this frog in my throat is driving me crazy. So I really apologize. Because if it's driving me crazy, it's probably driving you crazier. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. So if you've been around a bit, you know last Friday, this is Monday, yesterday was Mother's Day here in America, and I believe overseas as well. It fell on the same day this year. It doesn't always, but it did this year. Oops, that's not where I want it. This is silk, I believe. It's either silk or rayon, but it feels like silk to me. And again, I'm getting close to that edge, so I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to stick it back down and tie it off. I don't think I'm going to go across there. Well, I could. I guess, just along the edge. And I heard from both my kids, but they were both busy, so they didn't get to spend any time here or us there. And yeah. All right, so last Friday I was supposed to go to a class, and I went to the class. It was a dye class, as in dyeing fabric, as in stuff like this and this. And it was a good class. Sorry, I'm concentrating here. Okay. It was a good class. The teacher has done a lot of dyeing, but in the past, she's only done dye days where it's about 4 hours with a half-hour lunch break. It's from like 10:30 to 2:30. This class was part of what they called a summit, which was 3 days in a row, several classes being given each day. So the dye class was only one day. And I think if she changed it a little bit, it would be a really excellent class. But she spent from 10 until 1 o'clock when we ate lunch finally, just talking about stuff. And a lot of it could have been gone over a lot more quickly. It wasn't all that technical. She did have us stitching some of the fabrics with thread to act as a resist and to gather and pull. However, it was too much time. And lunch came really late. They offered boxed lunch from Panera for those that wanted it. And when they sent out the email and offered the boxed lunch, you could choose what you wanted, but you cannot make any changes to it. And I eat vegan, so I would say 98% plant-based. Well, everything I eat is plant-based, but I do eat some processed foods. 100% plant-based means you don't eat any processed foods. I do eat some processed foods occasionally, but I'm very careful about my ingredients and stuff like that in it. And so I need that to stay straight. Anyway, so as far as I could tell, the food from the salads and stuff, they were not offering, you couldn't make changes, which means you can't say, I don't want meat or egg on it, you know, or bacon, right? Well, come to find out, they had vegetarian salads there where they were able to make substitutes, like no meat, but they put edamame. Well, I don't eat edamame either because it's soy. But anyway, I could have eaten around the edamame. So anyway, I ended up taking my own salad, which is fine. I like my salads way better than the salads I purchase anywhere. But the point is, the lunch was included in the meal, in the cost of the class, and I did not get to partake in that. So I was a little put off by that. And waiting so long to eat my lunch. Now, I don't have diabetes, as far as I'm aware. You know, I don't believe I do. But if I go too long and I don't eat my meals on time for what works for me, then I run into trouble. And, oops, that's really kind of crooked. So finally at 1 o'clock, I asked her about 12:30 about lunch. And she said she wasn't in charge of it, that it was coming. So I just took my lunch out at 1 o'clock and started eating. And all of a sudden, amazingly, the lunch appeared. The purchased lunches all appeared, and everybody got theirs. And the people who didn't get the email or didn't check their emails or ignored the emails or whatever about the class that came like 2 days before, they got vegetarian salads from Panera. So I don't know how that worked, but on the evaluation sheet, I did bring it up because, you know, and some people can't wait that long to eat. Like, you know, what about diabetics and, you know, just people in general who can't really wait that long? So, anywho, I guess that's me being picky. And, what else? Yeah, if she had done the class where she gave the speech, you know, first hour, hour and a half, and we got to stitching faster, I think it would have been a lot more efficient. Then she took one group, if you were done stitching, she took a group over to the dye jars, and she showed us how to stuff the fabric into the dye jar and how to mix. The dyes were already pre-mixed, but You use like a 1/4 cup of dye, a 1/4 cup of soda ash in water that's already mixed up in hot water, and you use a 1/4 cup of water. So you just measure out those 3 things, pour it over the fabric that's in the jar, and then you stuff some more fabric in. So you stuff your jar like a 1/3 full. Pour the dye over. And then you stuff more fabric in, another 1/3 full. And you then do the dye, the soda ash, and the water again. And then you repeat that a 3rd time. So your jar is full of fabric, and you don't shake your jar around. You just let it sit for 24 hours. And so we were able to bring the jars home. We were each given 2 jars. Some people brought their own jars. Some people took way more jars, like they were taking 6, 8 jars home with them in the end, which I thought was quite greedy. Because she said at the beginning that she only has so many jars. They're donated jars, and that she would want people to bring them back. So we will take ours back at some point, next time we head north. We'll take the jars and drop them off at the store. So so I did my 2 jars, and then we ate lunch, and then after lunch she started showing people, or maybe it was just before lunch, she took the first group. There were I think 24 people all together in the class, and she took, I'm going to put this under here because this is still not sitting right the way I want it. So I'm going to do that first. So she took the first group next to us over by the dye vats, the indigo dye vats, and she explained what to do. Well, she never took our table over there and explained how to do the indigo. She never took the 3rd table over there. I guess we were all just supposed to pass the information on. So I happened to be able to hear her describing most of it while I finished stitching some of my stuff. So people were not done stitching when she started the dyeing because she didn't start the stitching soon enough. And people were not well informed on how to do it, but she did make it very clear that once you put your stuff into the indigo dye vats, that if you started arguing about whose was whose, that then whatever's in that vat becomes hers. And then there were, I think, 2 drying racks out. No, there was 1 drying rack out. And people were just doing so many things. Like, we were given so much fabric from her, but people were told you could bring a gallon Ziploc baggy size of fabric. There were people there that had like so much fabric, like yards of fabric. And I was like, how is this fair? I just didn't. I'm going to use a different one. I don't know if this has too much blue in it. Come out wherever you are. That looks very blue to me. It's not crazy about that one. This one has blue in it, but it also has this shade of purple in it. So I think we'll give that a shot. And look, there's a piece already cut off. Yay. So she's a wonderful lady. She's been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. She travels to India and she orders wooden that has a knot in it, Martha. That's why it's not going. Wooden blocks for block printing from India, and she gets fabric from India and all kinds of things. Anyway, she's done a lot of traveling, visited countries that I'm second thinking this choice because I know what I want to do here. I need to get up and get that other ball that rolled that way. I'll be right back. Hold that thought. I'm back. Trying to adjust the camera because I had to move it when I got up. I got this ball of thread. Okay. There's something I want to do on this piece that this color just isn't gonna hang. Not gonna work. Oops. That's the other end. There's a mourning dove. I don't know if you can hear it hooing out there. So, yeah, she's got a lot of experience, but as I started to say earlier, she does these classes that are 4 hours long, and I don't know that, I mean, she gives the basics, but then I guess you're allowed to go to town and just do the dyeing, and she does them separately. So 1 week might be or not 1 week, but 1 month might be an indigo vat dyeing session. Those fill up and sell out immediately. And then the next month might be the Procyon dyes in jars. And that's a 4-hour stint. So, and those are, I think, $65 for the Procyon and $75. What did I do here? Well, I didn't come up in the right spot, so. $75 for the indigo and $65, I think, for the Procyon. Anyway. So, I could consider doing another class. I think I would definitely consider doing the indigo dyeing one, but she only does them during the really hot weather. And that leads me to my next issue that I had on Friday. Not only did I wait too long to eat lunch, and I had a slight problem with feeling well after that for the rest of the afternoon. I got a headache and I felt kind of weak and yucky the rest of the afternoon from waiting too long to eat. And I am not going to drag my thread all over, I don't think. Well, all right, I can do this. Let's see. Gotta go that away. If I have to drag my thread and I'm using quilt batting, I put it under the quilt batting. I just feel like it secures it better. So, not only did I feel crummy the rest of the afternoon from not eating on time, but I then had to, the dye vats, we were in a warehouse, and the warehouse has like a garage door kind of opening to it for big deliveries. And that's where we were doing all this, sitting at tables. And we had to get up and go outside to the dye vats. Well, the dye vats were very close to the door. They were pretty much shaded. I could stand right at the edge of the doorway and put my stuff in the dye vat that was closest to that. However, then I'm not going to do that one. I got to go down there. So I'm going to tie off to hang the stuff up on the drying rack or the clothesline, which we were not told that we could use. I didn't know That's what it was there for. So I was trying to squeeze my stuff in on a drying rack that 10 other people had already put all their stuff on, and the dry rack wasn't that big. I mean, it was big, but it wasn't that big for everybody to do 5 or 6 pieces, you know, and some people lots more than that. So then I saw that people were starting to hang stuff on the clothesline that was tied between 2 4x4s. But anyway, by then it was too late for me. So then, I mean, my stuff was all crammed on maybe a foot-long corner of this drying rack, while other people had their stuff spread all out, all over the place. And people were running in and out and checking their stuff and grabbing stuff off the drying rack. And I've had situations where I've been involved in either classes or whatever, and somehow I always end up with the short end of the stick. I don't know why. So I ended up thinking that I was missing a piece or two of my stuff, but I don't think I was in the end. However, that was no fun thinking that. And I wanted to put some more stuff in the indigo dye vat. I don't think I like it with the antenna on there. That's the word I'm looking for. I feel like, where did I go with that? All right, down here. I feel like I couldn't because people were crowding the dye vats with large amounts of fabric that they had brought. I didn't want to put my fabrics in there. I had brought linen, I had brought muslin, I had brought flour sack towels, I had brought cheesecloth. I wanted to do all of that in indigo, but I didn't feel like my stuff was going to be safe, and if it walked off, I'd have been very upset because, you know, I spent money on it. It wasn't from thrift shops and estate sales, and I had put a lot of work into washing it and drying it and making sure it wasn't washed. You know, I don't wash my stuff with perfumed soaps and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it got to be overwhelming for me. Let's just say that. I'm going to have to put that way because it's just not cooperating. So I kind of had an overwhelming time of it when it came to feeling like I could participate fully in the process. So I didn't do any more jar dyeing because I felt like it wasn't my right to take any more jars. And then because I can't easily return them, I don't live that close. And then I felt like people were really hogging the indigo dye vat, which was a very frustrating situation for me. Plus, I cannot be in the sun for long periods of time. Medically, it harms me because I get overheated easily, and then my head starts pounding, and I get very flushed, and I get feeling not well. Like, it's not a good thing. So, yeah, I had some issues. And just going out there, the few times I went out there, it was, that day it was about 87, 88 degrees by that time in the afternoon. The warehouse was cool enough. I was fine in the warehouse. But standing in the sun, checking on my fabrics and stuff that were drying on the rack, the indigo dyed stuff, it got too much for me, and I started not feeling well, and I went inside the store hoping it was going to be like air conditioned and cooler. it was, but it wasn't that much cooler than the warehouse was. And I was very flushed. I could feel it. And I should have probably gone and ran some cold water over my neck and my head, or my face at least. And I didn't. Didn't think about it. Thought about it just now, but I didn't think about it then. And so the instructor was inside while I was inside purchasing fabric, which I told myself I wasn't going to do. That's a different video. But I did it. I did it anyway. So I ran into the instructor and she goes, "Are you okay? You're really flushed." And I said, "Yeah," I said, "I get overheated easily." And I went, checking on the fabric out in the sun, and the heat kind of got to me. And she's like, "Well, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Are you drinking water?" I said, "Yeah, I had brought 4 16-ounce, I use glass bottles and a stainless steel water bottle for our water. And I drink filtered water. I know, I'm obsessive about stuff, but I'm sorry. That's just what happened to me after I had the cancer. So that's what I became, obsessed about trying to be healthier. So I had the water with me and I was drinking it. And she's like, "Do you want to go in the break room and sit down? It's a little cooler in there." I'm like, no, I don't want any special treatment. But that all of the above reasons that I just stated were really reasons that I was very disappointed in myself. I wasn't disappointed in the class. Could it have been managed a little better? Yes. But nobody else was having the difficulty I was having with at least not as far as I could tell. Now, did other people not use the dye vats as much as I did? I don't know. I think so, because there were some people that seemed more introverted than I am, if that's possible. But yeah, so I think there were some other people who may have felt the same. I'm not sure. It was all I could do by 3 o'clock. And the class was supposed to go on till 5, but even the instructor sat down in one of the chairs and just sort of stopped. She just sort of, stopped teaching. she was talking to us, and we could ask her questions and she would answer them. But she wasn't going around and checking on people. She wasn't checking the vats to see if people were hogging them. She wasn't paying attention to any of that. And that sort of got to me. But I called Tony, or I texted Tony, and I said, "I'm ready to leave. I need you to come pick me up." So he was at the campground. So it took about an hour almost for him, 45 minutes, for him to pack everything up and come get me. But that was fine. I sat. People started cleaning around me, and because it was like 3 o'clock, and some people were just done. And there were people that came from a lot further away than we came. One lady came from Annapolis, Maryland, and another, that's the same stuff. Another lady had come from Florida, but she was staying in a hotel across the street. So yeah, it became overwhelming for me, and I didn't feel well because of the heat. And also there had been an air quality warning that day for the air quality in the area that wasn't good for people like with asthma and heart conditions and stuff, both of which I have, lung issues, breathing problems, etc., etc. So I think it was partly that, but I think mostly it was the heat that got to me. And the overwhelmingness of people not... I think like if she had said, okay, table 1, you guys get to go do your vat dyeing. Table 2, you go get to do your jar dyeing. And when you're done with your jars, table 3 gets to go, you know, and then table 2 gets to go out and do the vat dyeing, the indigo dyeing in the vats. I just think if it had been handled that way, it would have been a lot better. And we were filling out feedback sheets, and I wish I had, like, it takes me time to process stuff like that sometimes. I wish I had thought of that at the moment and put that down on the evaluation sheet. So I might write her an email. I don't know, maybe I'm just being picky. I mean, if you think I'm being picky, let me know. I don't know if it's my place to, you know, kind of say those things to her or not. But I thought I'd write a nice email and say, you know, I really appreciate the class and you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I have a couple suggestions, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a wimp. I know I'm a weather wimp. Yeah. Too cold in the winter, I stay in. Too hot in the summer, I stay in. Because, you know, I mean, even as a kid, I used to have seizures, and my mother was very, like, she didn't want me out of her sight, because if I had a seizure or something and I was out running around playing by myself or with my friends, nobody would know what to do. And I guess that's just how I am. I'm just special. So, I don't know, maybe I don't have a right to say anything to the instructor. Let me know what you think. But anyway, so I'm going to finish these little butterflies here. I'm just going to finish stitching over them. Of course, now that I've stitched over them, you can't really tell that they're butterflies, so maybe I should have stitched around them. But that's the way it goes sometimes. C'est la vie. But I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to finish this block just with various stitching. And I will be back when my blocks are closer to being done. And I will see you in the next one, whenever that is. But thanks for joining me. I love you all. And thanks for listening to me babble. Have a great day. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And I'll see you in the next one, whenever that is. Talk to you later. Thanks for hanging around. Bye.